You sat quietly on your chair, the morning sunlight casting soft golden patterns across your room as it filtered through the window. Outside, the world seemed peaceful. Birds fluttered past, the leaves swayed gently in the breeze, but inside, your heart felt heavy, almost suffocated by the weight of last night's conversation. Your eyes were fixed on the clouds, but your mind wasn't truly seeing them. A soft frown lingered on your lips as you clasped your hands together on your lap. Lost in thought, the breeze teased your ear, but even that didn't distract you. You leaned your head against the window frame, exhaling deeply. The ache in your chest throbbed a little more with every breath. What am I supposed to do now? Mom was so serious last night. She said we are going to meet someone tomorrow for marriage. Her words decode in your mind like an unwanted prophecy, dragging you into the flashback that refused to fade. You were sitting quietly on the couch in the living room, your eyes staring at your lap, fingers nervously tangled together. The TV was on in the background, but you were not watching. The air was heavy, like a storm was about to hit, except it already had. Your mother stood nearby, arms folded, an expensive silk shawl draped over her shoulder, her expression a mix of irritation and determination. Listen, Vine, the day after tomorrow, we are invited to a dinner at a restaurant that they own. It's a five-star place, everything about them screams class. The boy's family is established. He's rich, smart, comes from a background that can actually give you something. So tell me, what's the problem? You slowly looked up, your voice calm but pained. Mom, is money really all that matters in life? What about love? Doesn't that mean anything to you? Your mother rolled her eyes with a sharp exhale, clearly annoyed. Oh, please, Vine. It's better to cry in a Mercedes than in a cramped little bus or some rundown house. I'm telling you this gently right now, so listen carefully. He's a university professor. What was his name again? My memory these days is so bad. She paused, tapping her temple before waving it off with a small laugh. Anyway, I saw his picture. He's very handsome, I must say, has that cold, serious aura. But I believe my daughter can melt that ice around his heart. You sighed, your heart torn in two. A thousand unspoken words stayed locked in your throat, and instead, all you managed to say was, Mom, I'll think about it. You stood up, already walking toward your room when your mother's voice sliced through the air, this time louder, edged with finality. Wine, let me make this crystal clear. If you mess this up, if you say anything wrong, remember I'm your mother. You will marry him, got it. You didn't respond, not a single word. You simply kept walking, your jaw clenched, eyes stinging. You reached your room, gently closed the door behind you, and leaned against it with a deep breath. The weight of unspoken love, of expectations, of the unknown future, it all pressed on you just like a silent war you were not ready to fight. You were still lost in the echo of last night's argument, your eyes blankly staring at your open notebook, though none of the inked words made any sense anymore. The hum of the classroom, the quiet whispers, the occasional rustle of pages, it all blurred into the background as your thoughts swirled in a storm of emotions. That was until a soft nudge on your arm jolted you out of your trance. Hey, Wine, look who just walked in. Her tone was mischievous, playful, and curious all at once. You blinked a little startled, then followed her gaze toward the front of the class, and that's when your breath hissed. There he was, him, the man your heart had secretly chosen almost a year ago. Professor John Jungkook, your physics professor. Tall, graceful, impossibly composed, he walked into the lecture hall with the quiet confidence of someone who didn't need to demand attention. He simply owned it. His black dress shirt was neatly tucked into slate gray trousers, sleeves rolled just slightly to reveal the veins on his forearms as he carried a few files. His jawline looked sharper today, clean shaven, with just the faintest shadow forming beneath his cheekbones. His raven hair was slightly tousled, like he had run his fingers through it in a moment of thought, and his eyes, oh, those deep dark eyes that always looked unreadable, yet strangely soft when they lingered on someone. Why does he have to look like that today? That shirt, those sleeves, and that little frown of focus while flipping through the register. He looks so effortlessly perfect. How can I ever let him go when I am being forced to marry someone else? You cleared your throat and quickly looked down, trying to focus on the open textbook in front of you, but even the formula seemed to blur as your heart thudded like a drum. Then suddenly, Miss Wine, your head shot up in surprise. Yes, sir. He tilted his head slightly, brows lifted with just a hint of sarcasm, gently not mocking. It seems like you're not in this classroom at all. Care to share your thoughts with the rest of us? Your heart leaped, panic fluttering in your chest. For a moment, you swore he could hear what you had been thinking. Did he know? How will I ever tell you, Professor, that all I think about is you? That every time you look my way, it becomes the only moment I want to live in. That for a whole year now, I have loved you in silence. Jungkook suddenly cleared his throat, turning his gaze away for a split second, and you swore you saw the tips of his ears turning a soft shade of red, as if he had read the unsaid words hanging in the air between you two. You struggled for a proper response, flustered and embarrassed. All right, then why don't you explain what I just covered? Your heart sank, you had heard none of it. You scratched your cheek nervously, lips pressing together in defeat. I'm sorry, Professor, I'll pay attention now. His gaze lingered on you for a moment longer than necessary, not cold, not angry, just quiet. Like he saw something behind your nervousness but didn't want to push you. Finally, he gave a small nod. Fine, I'll go over it again. Everyone, listen closely. He turned back to the board, picking up the white marker. His voice was calm, patient, almost softer than before. So, as I was saying, when we talk about Newton's second law, the core idea is that force equals mass multiplied by acceleration. F is equal to ma. This relationship explains how much force an object needs to accelerate depending on its mass. He went on explaining each line, using practical examples and even rewording it in simpler terms. And for the first time today, your heart slowed down. Not because the ache disappeared, but because his voice calmed the chaos inside you. You scribbled notes frantically, your eyes not leaving the board once. But what shocked you more than anything, he didn't scold you. He didn't humiliate you in front of the class. He simply taught with kindness, and the entire class noticed it. Whispers followed, wide eyes exchanged. People turn to each other with the unspoken question. Since when does Professor Joan go easy on someone for zoning out? But you just smiled faintly, warmed by the fact that he had. After the lecture, as students began packing up their bags and leaving the room, Jungkook collected his files and quietly exited through the side door. You remained seated, pretending to check your notes. Let's go, I'm starving. Cafeteria fries are calling my name. You stood up, adjusting your backpack with a hesitant smile. You go ahead, I have to talk to Professor June. Hasom paused, her lips parting into a wide grin. Oh, are you going to confess or something? You gasped and slapped her arm playfully. Stop it. No, I need to ask for leave. I won't be coming tomorrow. Hasom raised her eyebrows teasingly, but the warmth in her voice softened her words. Hmm. Okay, okay. Best of luck with your totally not a confession. I'll save a seat for you just in case you survive this. You roll your eyes, laughing softly under your breath, then turn toward the hallway. Your heart began to beat a little faster with each step. His cabin wasn't far. You could already see the frosted glass door with his name etched in silver letters. Professor John Chungkook, Department of Physics. You exhaled deeply, steadied your hands, and walked toward it, each footstep echoing louder than the last in your chest. You took one last breath before gently knocking on the cabin door. Your hand lingered on the handle for a second longer than necessary, nerves fluttering in your stomach like restless birds. Come in. You turned the knob slowly and stepped into the quiet room. The air inside was still, almost too quiet, filled only with the faint ticking of a clock and the rustle of papers. Professor Jungkook sat behind his desk, sleeves rolled to his forearms, dark eyes scanning the file in front of him. His posture was as straight and composed as ever, his presence calm but sharp. As the door clicked shut behind you, he looked up, eyes meeting yours. Yes, his voice was cool, neutral. He didn't sound annoyed, but you still felt small under his gaze. Professor, I wanted to ask for permission to take tomorrow off. I am not feeling well. You tried to keep your tone steady, but the words came out softer than you intended. Somewhere deep down, you expected resistance, a reminder of how strict he usually was, how punctual, how serious. Chunk raised an eyebrow faintly, his fingers pausing mid turn on the page he was flipping. He looked at you for a moment silently, as if studying your expression, your tired eyes, your tense shoulders, your awkward silence like a student facing judgment. You lowered your gaze nervously, continuing. I know it's short notice and I'll make sure to catch up on the lecture later. I just didn't want to skip without informing you. You braced yourself for a long explanation, for questions, for rejection, even, but instead, okay. Your head snapped up in surprise. Huh? A faint amused smirk tugged at the corner of his lips, a rare sight. He leaned back in his chair, folding his arms over his chest as he looked at you. I said, okay, you can take the day off, just make sure you rest properly. You stood there blinking in disbelief. Wait, that's it? He didn't even ask for a medical note or insist I catch up in detail what's happening. But then his smirk faded, replaced by something quieter. His gaze lingered on you longer this time. He tilted his head slightly, brows drawing together in a look that could only be described as subtle concern. You don't look well. Why? Something wrong? Your heart skipped a beat. You were not sure what shocked you more, the fact that he noticed or the softness in his voice when he asked. You opened your mouth to answer, but the words didn't come. Your throat felt tight, so instead you looked down, pretending to study the floor. No, just tired, I guess. You forced a smile as you looked back up briefly, trying to mask the storm inside you, but his gaze didn't leave your face. She's laying, her smile is soft but doesn't reach her eyes. She's not just tired, something is bothering her. But should I ask, would it be too much? He sighed softly and leaned forward again, his fingers drumming gently on the table. All right, take the day off. If you need notes or anything, let me know. I'll have them sent. You nodded quickly, grateful and flustered. Thank you, sir. He didn't reply this time, just gave a small nod and returned to his file. But you felt it, the tension in the air, the unspoken thoughts between the lines. As you turned and stepped out of his cabin, gently pulling the door shut behind you, your heart was racing because maybe, just maybe, he didn't notice you after all. The next day, evening, the soft golden glow of your bedroom lights filled the space as you stood in front of the mirror, finishing the final touches on your look. Your dress was simple yet graceful, pastel tone with delicate detailing along the neckline. You had curled your hair slightly, letting it fall loosely over your shoulders, and applied just enough makeup to conceal the restlessness under your eyes. But no amount of color on your cheeks could hide the heaviness inside your chest. You adjusted the chain around your neck, staring at your reflection without really seeing it. You looked put together, but you didn't feel it. Suddenly, your bedroom door creaked open, your mom peeked in and gasped dramatically. Are you ready? Oh my god, look at you. Her hand flew to her mouth as she stepped inside, eyes wide with mock shock. She walked closer, her tone full of exaggerated awe. Why did I end up with such a breathtaking daughter? I swear, if that's why family doesn't instantly say yes tonight, I suspect they need glasses. You roll your eyes, but a reluctant smile tugged at the corner of your lips. You always say that because it's always true. She gave your shoulder a gentle squeeze and softened. Her voice quieter now. Don't look so serious, just be yourself tonight, okay? You nodded faintly and followed her out, heart thudding quietly beneath your ribs. At the restaurant, 7:30 p.m., the venue was luxurious but not loud. Dim pendant lights hung above each table, soft jazz played in the background, and the air smelled of fresh wood, polish, and faint citrus. The waiters moved like shadows, quiet and professional. The large table near the window had already been reserved, where your family now sat. Your father exchanged polite conversation with your younger brother while your mom looked around eagerly for the other guests. You sat in silence, your hands resting gently in your lap, eyes downcast. You had not touched the water placed in front of you. You were not sure you could even swallow if you tried. Your mind was somewhere else with someone else. I didn't even tell him. I just left yesterday. Walked out like it was just another casual conversation, but it wasn't. It felt like something was changing. How do I sit here and pretend like I'm ready to meet someone when my heart is still with the one person who will never know? You blinked quickly, fighting the sting forming behind your eyes. Then the sound of chairs moving nearby made you lift your head just a little. The other family had arrived. Your mother stood up instantly, her smile wide and practiced. She greeted the women approaching with outstretched arms. Warm, plain trays filled the air. We are so glad you could come. Of course, we have been looking forward to this. The men, your father, and Mr. John exchanged a brief but respectful handshake and a few quiet words. You still had not looked up fully. Your eyes remained on the tablecloth, tracing the embroidery pattern with your thumb. Your heart, though, was racing for reasons you couldn't explain. And then, wine, sweetheart, come here for a second. You stood slowly, smoothing down the sides of your dress. She took your hands warmly, her eyes lighting up as she looked at you. My goodness, you are even lovelier than your parents are. So elegant. Honestly, I don't think I have seen anyone carry themselves the way you do. I can already tell you will be the perfect match for our son. You offered a soft smile, murmuring a quiet thank you, but then the moment that would shift everything arrived with a name. Wine, meet my son Jungkook. Your word came to a halt. Time slowed, breath caught. You turned your head slowly, nervously, and your eyes met his, John Jungkook, the man who had occupied your thoughts every day for the past year. The man whose voice could calm the chaos in your chest, the man you thought you would never get the chance to truly know, not beyond a classroom, not beyond polite smiles and long, unreadable stares. And now he stood just a few feet away, wearing a crisp charcoal grey suit with a wide button down shirt. His tie knotted neatly at his collar, his hair was tied neatly back, his expression neutral but gentle. And when his eyes locked with yours, dark, quiet, searching, something inside you shifted. Your chest rose sharply as your breath hissed. Did you really hear me, God? Is this him? Is this real? You felt your throat tighten, a tear daring to spill, but you blinked it back quickly. No one noticed, no one except him. He gave you a small, composed smile. Hello, Wine. His voice was deeper than usual, calm, smooth, familiar. You returned the greeting, voice barely above a whisper. Hi. The adults continued their conversation, but your focus blurred. You barely registered Mrs. Joan proudly mentioning her son's accomplishments, your mother nodding enthusiastically or the light clinking off silverware as drinks were served. Then Mrs. Joan turned toward her son with a smile that said more than her words. Jungkook, would you like to talk with Vine privately for a few minutes? He looked at you, his expression unreadable, then nodded once. Sure. Outside the restaurant, a few minutes later, the dinner had ended. Both families were delighted, laughs exchanged, smiles shared, and though your heart was still catching up to what had happened between you and Jungkook, it felt strangely peaceful. You had asked for a few more minutes alone before heading home, and Jungkook had offered to walk with you down the empty, quiet street beside the restaurant. He walked beside you, hands casually tucked into the pockets of his caracol blazer, shoulders relaxed as if this wasn't the most unexpected meeting of your entire life. You, on the other hand, were practically vibrating with nerves. And then his voice. So, Miss Vine, how's the health? Recovered from the mysterious sickness? You looked at him wide eyed. What? You said you were sick, remember? The sudden leave didn't look very sick a minute ago in that dress. He glanced at you out of the corner of his eye, smirking just enough to tease, but not enough to make you uncomfortable. You gaped at him, flustered. I was sick, I mean, emotionally, not physically, but that still counts. So it was the dramatic kind of illness. Should I be offended it wasn't because you missed my class? You narrowed your eyes, crossing your arms. You are impossible. No, just observant. You looked away, cheeks warming under his teasing gaze. He chuckled under his breath, his voice turning softer as he looked ahead. Honestly, I didn't think I would see you tonight either. When I saw your name, I didn't believe it at first. You walked in silence for a few steps, your heart pounding. The words rising in your chest were too heavy to swallow this time, and then, without meaning to, without planning it, the words slipped from your mouth like a secret that had been aching to be heard. You froze, he stopped walking too. Your breath caught in your throat as you realized what you had just said. Oh God, what did I just say? You slowly turned your head to look at him, eyes wide in horror. Jungkook stood there, still as stone, eyebrows raised, slightly, not in shock but in awe. You stammered, trying to fix it, trying to walk it back. I mean, I didn't mean to say it like that. It's been a year and I never said anything because you were my professor and I didn't want to make things weird. But I couldn't not tell you now, especially not after this. He stared at you for a long moment, his eyes unreadable, your chest tightened with fear. But then slowly a smile formed at the corner of his mouth, soft, warm, honest. He took a step closer. Wine. You looked up at him, heart racing. You could have told me a long time ago. You blinked. What? You think I didn't notice the way you had get flustered when I walked past you, the way you stared when you thought I wasn't looking? You think I wasn't looking at you too? Your mouth parted in disbelief. You were. He nodded, the teasing in his tone fading now, replaced with something sincere grounding. Yeah, I just didn't know if it was okay to feel that way. You were my student. I didn't want to cross a line, but now here we are. Your lips quivered, overwhelmed by the storm of emotions. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair away from your face, his fingers grazing your cheek with the softest touch. You hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, I really do. He exhaled almost like he had been holding his breath too long. Good, because I have been waiting a long time to say this. His voice dropped into a whisper like it was meant only for you. Tears welled in your eyes, but this time they were the kind that didn't need to be blinked away. You smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in what felt like days. Still think I was faking being sick? He laughed quickly. No, I think you were lovesick. The world had slowed down. The night was calm, the sky a canvas of stars, and the street was lit by golden lamps humming gently. The cool breeze rustled the trees lining the path, and your heels clicked lightly against the stone pavement. You walked beside him in a soft silence, his hand occasionally brushing yours. Your cheeks were warm, and every time you glanced at him, he looked like something straight out of a dream. Suit slightly undone, hair now a bit messy from the night, but eyes still full of something gentle, something yours. He noticed the slight way you limp, the way you winced when your heel twisted unevenly on a crack in the road. And then he stopped. Without a word, he gently took your wrist to stop you too. You looked at him, confused, watching as he bent down and began unlacing his own sneakers. What are you doing? He glanced up at you with a quiet smile, then pointed at your sandals. Changing your shoes, your eyes widened. What? You are in pain, or not you? You have been limping for the past 2 blocks. He placed his sneakers in front of you and then crouched to unbuckle the delicate strap around your ankle. You stared down at him, his tall, composed, respected professor kneeling on the street, swapping your shoes with his own. Jungkook, you don't have to. I know, but I want to. His fingers were careful as he slipped off your sandals, then slid your feet gently into the soft cushion of his slightly oversized sneakers. You couldn't help the small giggle that escaped your lips when you saw how big they looked on you. He stood holding your sandals in one hand. You're seriously going to walk barefoot holding my shoes? Nope, I have walked barefoot in the rain before. The road is clean and you're smiling, that's enough. You look down at the sneakers now hugging your feet, so comfortable, so unlike your pinching sandals, and something inside you melted completely. You are unbelievable. I told you, not impossible, just observant. You laughed again, walking beside him, this time without pain, and all you could think about was how this man didn't need grand gestures or dramatic words. His love showed in the smallest things, in nursing your limb, in swapping shoes without asking, in carrying your pain in his hands. You looked at him, this time with your full heart, and he was already looking at you.